We're doing something totally different this Sunday, so I wanted to bring in Grant here to talk about exactly how we're going to kind of do this, what we think has never been tried before. So my name's Bill Rice. I'm the online pastor here at LifeBridge Church, and the guy behind the logo here on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, wherever you might be seeing this. And this is Grant, who's our senior teaching pastor here at LifeBridge. So this kind of cool new thing, we were getting and starting to go through this series of Elephant in the Room, and we're talking about a lot of controversial topics, and we were trying to cover as much ground as we could, and we were doing some things on Facebook and on YouTube, and we were also doing, obviously on Sunday morning, we were doing the normal teaching series. And in that process, we kind of ran into some controversy online, and people were interested in kind of our approach and talking about our approach. So we said, hey, how can we accommodate the audience? And so we came up with this idea, Bandersnatch style, right? Choose your own adventure. So this Sunday, we are going to do, like I said, something we think is completely unprecedented in the teaching world, the preaching world, is to allow the audience to select what you're going to preach on.
So I am preparing 2 messages this Sunday. Actually, I've already got it kind of run through and I'm ready to go, and I'm actually excited about both topics. So it's going to be up to you guys to decide what we're doing.
Yeah. So how's this going to work? So most importantly, if you are here local at Taylor or Monroe, Michigan, we would love for you to come to the services and come early, because we're going to reveal during the worship set how you can actually text in your vote. And then we're going to tally those, and then we're going to surprise Grant with what he's going to teach on at the last minute. And the online campus is not going to be left out either. So right before we go live with YouTube Live at about 9:50-ish or so you'll want to be kind of tuning into YouTube around 9:30, we're going to reveal to you how you can text in. And then the Facebook Live crowd, again, around that 11:30 time frame, we're going to do the same with you. And then we're going to tell you what you're going to teach on. So You want to give us a little teaser as to the 2 choices so people could start to think about it?
Yeah, so the 2 topics, one is the MeToo movement, and we're just going to talk about, or maybe we're going to talk about whether or not, like, is that a positive thing? Obviously, there are some positive things for sure. But ultimately, I also want to talk about not just the positives, but like where it ultimately kind of falls short, and why I think the gospel actually speaks to a much deeper issue than the Me Too movement talks to. And then the other one, and I'm really excited about that one, and I'm also really excited about the idea of talking about abortion. Obviously, with current events happening, that's become a subject and a topic quite a bit. I want to approach that, and I'm always very careful to approach that. Because I know it's a painful and it's a very emotional issue for a lot of people out there, but I am excited to talk about it and address it, and to talk about it from a Christian perspective, like what Christians need to know, and then also talk about it like if you're not a Christian, like here's what you need to know. And promise, both of those issues are super sensitive, so we're going to handle them both very delicately. But I got excited about both of those, and I was like, we can't be here for an hour, so that's why you guys get to choose.
Yeah. So this is kind of cool. The other eventuality or possibility, just to kind of open up what could happen here on Sunday, is we do have 2 services, and we do have YouTube Live and we do have Facebook Live that happen at different times, and we're going to allow you to vote before each of those services. So potentially you could actually preach on both of them in the same Sunday, right?
Yeah. So you could if you didn't like what happened at the tent, you were like, no, I really wanted to hear the other one, then you could come and you could tune in and vote for that one. So
the last thing that I wanted to touch on a little bit, and you guys can see this if you look in our YouTube comments and our Facebook Live comment or Facebook comments from some of the things we covered earlier. There was one thing that you talked about in the comments section, I think particularly on YouTube and maybe a little bit on Facebook, that I think is interesting, and one of the reasons that we did this, and that you were talking about, you think that kind of church is changing in a lot of ways. People are being very heavily influenced by culture, and so as a result, you're often finding yourself here, even in the auditorium here at LifeBridge Church, and definitely online, really preaching to 2 different and teaching to 2 different audiences that you kind of have to approach differently. There's There's the Christian, and I think most of us as Christians think that everybody in the audience here on a Sunday and the people that choose to watch us online must all be Christians, must all be following Jesus. But you're talking about how, there's a whole different set in the audience of non-believers, and you have to take a little bit of a different approach. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so years ago when I started preaching, it was pretty much like people that went to church were Christians, and that's who I was addressing and talking to. And then over the years, culture's changed. Also, our approach as a church is a little different. Like our goal is to be a church unchurched people love to engage with. So our strategy and just how culture is changing is in our audience on Sunday morning, there's a lot of people that are probably in three categories, like uber Christian, like maybe even like over saved. And then there's people that are like in the middle, like they're new Christians, but they don't know a lot. And then there's people that are just completely seeking, like they just want to know and understand. So on Sunday mornings and online and anytime, we've got to speak to all of those audience and not alienate one of them, which is challenging, but also gets to the core of what the gospel is really all about. So I love it, and it creates a lot more work than it used to when it comes to teaching, but I love it.
Yeah. So anyway, this should be tons of fun, an exciting new way. Our number one mission is always to get that message of Christ out there and share that biblical perspective on these issues, even if they are controversial. So encouraging you to show up early if you're here local at Taylor, Michigan or Monroe, Michigan at our campuses so that you can get to vote. And then if you're here online, we'll be lighting up the YouTube live around 9:30 to 9:50ish, and then Facebook Live around 11:15 to 11:30 to get you to vote. And we'll see what happens. I'm super excited. This is fun.
Yeah,
right?
Pray for me.
For sure.